Welcome to YMT112 Algorithm and Programming 2 tutorial session. This is tutorial regarding Chapter 10, discussing Chapter 10 or addressing Chapter 10. So Chapter 10 is concerned with topics related to exceptions and binary files. So we will go ahead and discuss few questions about exceptions first, then we will address the rest of the chapter about the binary files and topics related to them. So the first question is asking us to write a simple Java program that deliberately divides a number by 0. Your program should display the quotient to the screen. What do you observe? Let's address the first requirement. So the idea is dividing a number by 0, and we know from mathematics that this kind of action is not actually permitted due to the problem with the outcome, with the output. We are not quite sure what the output is. We just refer to it mathematically by infinity. However, how can we exactly display or discuss or provide? How can we provide infinity in NetBeans or any other IDE for Java? Let's see how this thing will go, how it is done in Java first. I'll just display system.out.println or print a division by 0, any number, any. I just put 10, you can put any, it doesn't matter, divided by 0. And let's see the outcome here. I'll run execute and see how things will go. Yeah, this is exactly what we are looking for. Exception in the thread main, java.language.arithmetic exception. So we're having an arithmetic exception. What is this exception? Exception is an object created or generated because of an expected event, or unexpected code, or unexpected problem due to some instruction or statement. Right, so what is unexpected? Here is the division by 0. This is unexpected or actually not acceptable exactly to NetBeans. So NetBeans here doesn't exactly know how to process this, this kind of expression or statement, Java statement, and because of that, what we say is an exception is raised or thrown. So we have an exception thrown due to this problem. Well, what is the result? When an exception is thrown, what happens? What happens is exactly what we are seeing here. The program halts, and we do not exactly know what's going on, other than just the message about the exception and its type. However, the exception and its type, both of them are important, and we need to address them and understand them in order for us to write programs that do not halt. And when we write them, we can properly address and handle their exceptions. All right, so look at this arithmetic exception. This is the type of the exception that is raised because of an arithmetic problem. Okay, this arithmetic problem, we can manage it by certain exception out of this particular type, and this type is actually division by 0. All right, this is good. How can we manage this exception? The exception can be managed in Java by two main blocks. So these blocks, the first one is try, where we create a scope or a block. We place all the statements that potentially may create or may throw an exception or exceptions inside try, and then we move to another block. We provide a clause, and this clause is called catch clause, where we state the type of the exception. So what do we have here? Let's just try to apply what I just said to this particular problem. This is the second part of the question. So we need to create a handler. This is what we refer to by exception handling. So we have an exception, and this exception will be thrown from this try block. So this block will throw an exception. This is an exception, it will be thrown, and then we will handle this exception. This is what we call, the first line here, we call it the catch clause. This is the clause that we define how our exception, or the type of our exception, of which type of exception we are getting this object that's being thrown. Okay, so I said earlier we just displayed it to the screen earlier a few minutes ago. It was an arithmetic exception, so this is its type. Okay, arithmetic exception, we give it a name. Remember, what will be thrown here is an object. So the exception is an object. So whatever you want to throw from try block is an object. So you need to receive it as an object of class what? This is its class, arithmetic exception. This is its type. So give it a name, a variable name. So this is how we reference it. And then what do we need to do? We need to address it. We need to tell the user what's going on. So we need to display something. I can display a message tells what went wrong. Okay, the division by 0 is not allowed. Well, that's enough. Let's just run and see how things go. Well, now see, the division by 0 is not allowed. Now let me explain. There are a few things I have to explain them, and I have to address them while we are discussing this particular issue. Now look, once this line comes to execution, we know that an exception will be raised exactly here. So we will stop executing in try, and we will move to catch. So the exception will be thrown to catch, and catch will handle it. It will be assigned to this reference. And then this is the handling way. We just display a statement, for example, to tell the user what's going on. Okay, now you may tell me, maybe it's not quite clear. Well, let me show you. Now, let's display something before and after this statement. Okay, before, let's say this is an exception handling example. Okay, I'll display after the potentially source or the potential source of the exception. So this is the potential source here, this line of exception. So what happens? We will just display a statement next to it. It doesn't matter what it is. After the, let's say after the exception, or after the source of exception. All right. So now what happens? This one will be displayed normally with no problem. Then we will reach here in the execution. The program will not display this. It will jump to catch close. It will process the handling job inside the catch block, and then it will not come back. Why? Because we have an exception here, which is addressed and handled within this block, and we'll just carry on next if there is any. So now we don't have any. We could let me display. Then, since we said about it, let's do. We are after catch block. Okay, so let's just run and see. This is an exception handling example. Okay, so this is the first one. Next to it, division by 0 will raise or will throw an exception. This exception will be thrown assigned to X here, and it will display whatever inside this handling block. Then after that, we will go to next. So we will not come back here. It will not. Okay, this is the way we handle it. Now you may tell me, how about this display? Well, I'm not quite sure what to display here. Well, you don't have to know. There is default message that can be displayed from the object that's thrown. We can use get message, and we'll help you to get the default message attached to this exception. Tells about its type or the particular type of this exception. So let's look. This is an exception. Whatever we displayed earlier, the exception will be thrown here. This one will not be reached. So what happens is exactly what happens here. Division by 0. And that was the type we discussed earlier, if you remember, when I divided by 0 directly without handling. Then after that, whatever next to it. So any statement next to it will be addressed or will be executed, and if there is any display, will be presented to the screen or printed to the screen. Okay, that's enough for this question, and for next question we will record another session. I hope you guys will benefit from this video. See you in another session. Goodbye.